some of the largest companies in our industry, they keep canvassing teams, not because they love canvas leads that much. They know it makes their sales reps close higher on all the other lead sources. Because if you can master a door knocking lead, then the Google lead is really not that big of a problem, right? If they buy into you as a trainer, if you give them the right answers and the why behind it, they will execute the process better than any other sales rep on the team.
Yeah, I
But
believe that.
if they think they know better than you during training, they'll invent their own process and then they'll follow that because they overthink everything. And it's interesting when you're on the other side of it, where you're the owner now and it's your ad spend and your money. And I'm like, I could see why I was worth so much creating leads out of nothing now, right?
All right. How's it going? I'm Trevor Steele. This is Through the Noise. It's a podcast I'm super excited about today. Honestly, this is one of those guests where you send the request to be on and you expect a no, but we didn't get a no. So I'm super excited about it. This lady is an absolute killer in sales. She's known as the lead queen. She's an aggressive outbound sales marketing expert with CSR, team building skill sets. She's got canvassing experience and she builds canvassing teams. So, I mean, the lower end trades are so desperate for this kind of next level systems training thinking. So I'm super excited to bring Megan Beattie to the stage today. Welcome, Megan.
Hey, Trevor, how are you?
I'm super well. I'm really excited to have you. I've been talking about you all week with my wife and just digging in. I told you before we jumped on that I've been stalking you a little bit on social media to learn a little bit more about you. I'm really excited. I know you've got a lot of quality content and stuff to bring to the table here.
Well, thank you. Hopefully I can live up to all of that.
Oh, you will. I've seen enough of you that I will. And I was telling you right before we jumped on that I've actually seen you speak. And so Chuck Toki, a mutual friend of ours, I've gotten to know him really well over the years. And I said, Chuck, here's where I'm at in business. I need a CSR. Got to get my wife off the phones, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's killing her. It's killing all of us. We're making mistakes. We've got AI that is supposed to handle overflow, right? But we've got 3 kids and she's doing her best. And so AI is answering the phone.
All of it.
Right. Right. So that's kind of where we're at. And so I go to Chuck, who I respect, and I know he knows a lot of people in the home services industry. And I said, I need the best. Who is the best CSR person on the planet? And he said, without a doubt, you need to call Megan. And he gave me your phone number, which he probably wish he didn't give me your phone number, but
that's quite all right. You know, when you're in business as a consultant, it kind of comes with the territory, right? Like you get random texts at 10:30 at night. Hey, what do I do about this? Oh, okay. So it was you actually didn't text me after 9 p.m. So it was actually, welcome.
It's 8:58.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got to respect that 9 o'clock. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Obviously, I've told the audience that you're a CSR and canvassing expert, but start from the beginning and let's get to why we can call you these things.
Sure. Yeah. So I started my first real marketing job when I was 17. I was telemarketing for vacation memberships. So for that to be your first job, right? That's a tough gig. So I would call people that would enter to win like an RV or a truck or a boat inside the mall. You guys have all seen those enter to wins and you walk up and fill out the little form. And so I would call you and then try to convince you to drive to my campground and take a tour, which was our fancy word for sales presentation. Hopefully you would end up at the end of the day deciding to purchase a vacation membership. So you could camp at all these different resorts and hotels and condos and stuff. And so, yeah, I spent about a year and a half. I was there doing that, learned a couple of things. Trevor, one was that I never wanted to work in food service again, because if they would pay me to talk to people, this was much more lucrative and obviously was probably a better career path at that point than Steak and Shake, which was my first job. Yeah. So that was the couple things I learned. And I also found out that if you did this type of job well, you could get paid a lot of money, because a lot of people don't, or they don't know how. And so I learned a lot of principles that I still use today in terms of, how to create fear of loss, how to reduce buying resistance and things of that nature. So we would call people that really didn't expect to have a phone call inviting them to drive to us, right? And so
Mhm.
definitely learned a lot of lessons, a lot of principles I still use today in everything that I do. So fast forward a little bit, I ended up at a home improvement company a couple years later that went out of business and bounced my paychecks. So that was interesting. That was later on when I got to a real home improvement company, I found out how common that actually is. 96% of them usually go out of business in the first 5 years. So that was interesting. You think that would have been enough for me, but no, here I am back again. I'm a lifer, right? I'm not going anywhere. You can't get me out of here, even if you don't pay me. So I ended up at my first real home improvement company in 2005, basically just walked in as a part-time telemarketer. So I was working at a restoration company, slow in the winter there. So I said, well, let me take a part-time job to, supplement my income. So I came in, I said, oh, I can telemarket. I've done that before. And I did it at a home improvement company. It's the window company. That was a window company. So I walked in, interviewed, and the owner was very desperate for leadership in the call center at that time. He had one part-time kid and then another part-time guy, and that was it. After about a week, he was basically like, okay, how about you take over confirmations? And then, hey, why don't you become the manager after about 30 days? And he said, what would it take to get you here? And I said, well, a salary, bonuses. He's like, done. I'm like, oh, okay, that was easy. That was easy. Press a little that was easy button, right? That was easy.
Yeah.
So I went there about a year, built out the call center. I think I had 4 or 5 callers. We were sitting at like a long table with plastic separating us from each other. I mean, it really wasn't a call center. It was a good old back alley call center, if you will. Now, later on, they moved us to the front of the office once we actually had a real call center and gave us real desks and cubicles. But in the beginning, we started very humbly and we still made leads that way. We didn't need any fancy technology, Trevor. We just
Some
made do
reason,
with what we had.
some reason I keep seeing Leonardo DiCaprio
Oh, yeah.
selling penny stocks.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Definitely. Your boiler room type of scenario,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And if, the sales made on every call, either you sell them, why they need stock or they sell you on their bullshit reason that they don't, right? So yeah, it was very much felt that way. But after about a year, he said, well, hey, since you're so good at this marketing stuff, why don't you take over our Sam's Club lead generation program? And I said, well, I don't know anything about Sam's Club, but okay, as long as somebody tells me what to do. So I just took the same principles I used on the phone and we used it inside of Sam's Club to generate bath and window leads. And then, shortly thereafter, we started a show and event program where we were doing a massive amount of home shows and festivals and events. And then he said, okay, well, you've conquered all of that. Now you can become the marketing director, but you got to do door knocking. And I said, oh, I don't know anything about door knocking, but again, if you have somebody that can show me, I can do it. So he brought in a canvassing consultant, which is now my business partner, Tony Hoty. He's my mentor and taught me most of what I learned. He's known as the canvas king in our industry. The man's knocked more doors than anybody else I know. He's been knocking since he was 17 and in high school. And so it was interesting because now, it's kind of come full circle where we are partners in a consulting practice, which has been pretty cool for me.
Yeah. How cool is that?
Yeah, so I spent about 3 years at that company, really had some disagreements with the way the business was going, didn't really feel good about what I was doing every day. So I left. I ended up at the company that's now kind of my claim to fame, All Weather Seal of West Michigan. And we grew that from 1.7 to 10 million with no inbound leads. So that was kind of my whole soapbox, is that we went from 1.7 to 10 million, no inbound leads.
Zero.
None. No, we didn't have any. Well, we had a couple referrals here and there, but nothing, no
Okay. So
website, no
that's what I
nothing.
was going to say. That's what I was
Yeah.
going to say. So for the
Oh.
people that are listening to this and they're not sure what the difference is between
Mhm.
inbound and
Mhm.
outbound, I know
Yep.
you want to answer that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had no website, no Google leads. We had no TV, no direct mail, no people calling us to come out and see them.
That's
Main
incredible.
Yeah, mainly just because we were a small family-owned business. There was another branch on the other side of the state that the owner had grown up in over there in the business, and he had moved to the Grand Rapids, the west side of Michigan, to open another branch of the same business. And so just really starting out small. I mean, they were doing previous customer referral business. They do a couple home shows a year at that time, like a lot of us start in the very beginning. And basically, I got placed there because he was looking for someone that could start a canvassing team. They had a couple little high school canvassers when I got there, but they would go out like 2 hours a night and they didn't get any leads. So they really didn't produce anything. And so that was my first order of business, was to come into the canvas team and take it over, create something. And we did. We created a 5, 6 person van pretty quickly, got that going, put a couple of team leads in place because then the call center was not where it should be. So they were dropping my leads. And so it was, well, can you come into the call center and fix that? I'm like, this sounds really familiar. It's kind of like the last company. I just moved department to department. So I went in there and took over the call center, and we created a pretty decent sized call center, but we were calling sweepstakes leads. I mean, these are very much where I was comfortable because of where I grew up in the vacation industry. People entered to win a $15,000 home makeover in the mall or at a show or an event. And we would call them and we'd convince them to let us come out and give them an estimate. And so from there, we decided that we wanted to go more into shows and events. And we created a show and event program that we were doing 300 shows and events per year. So we did 5 to 7 a week every single week. And it ended up being about it ended up being about a $6 million program. So between
Whoa.
between sweepstakes and writing live leads at events, it grew pretty quickly. So, but that's how we got all of our leads up until about 10 million. And because we could go out there and create leads that didn't exist, like it was a pretty impressive thing. Nowadays it's like, oh, great, you grew from 0 to 10 million, no big deal. But when you put in that nobody called us, we had to go find them, then, people go, wow, what?
This is the problem, right?
Exactly.
We sit here and we go, well, no
Yep,
leads today.
exactly.
It's like, what are we gonna do? I don't know.
Well,
I
and I
mean,
think,
I'm a culprit. I get it.
yeah,
I admit it. I'm good at getting the phone to ring. I'm not good
yeah.
at calling
Well,
other people.
yeah, and I guess when you don't have any other option, right, you learn how to hustle. And so, the great thing about that is now that they get inbound leads, they're really good at converting inbound leads. Why? Because they've converted all the hard ones for the past, 20 years. So,
Right,
I
right.
mean, it's the same thing with sales teams and canvassing leads. Some of the largest companies in our industry, they keep canvassing teams, not because they love canvas leads that much. They know it makes their sales reps close higher on all the other lead sources. Because if you can master a door knocking lead, then the Google lead is really not that big of a problem, right?
For
Same thing with
sure.
sweepstakes. So yeah, and then I actually learned one call close selling. So I took over training the sales team. I was the sales manager there was my partner, so that was my next thing. And then I spent my last 2 years there recruiting all the salespeople and doing sales training. So learned how to run a sales team while I was there, and then left there in 2021 to pursue consulting full time. So I spent 11 years there. Still very close with that company. I talked to the leaders there on a regular basis and the owner, and he taught me a lot about the business. Trevor, I'd never know what I know to be able to share what I share with my
Right.
clients now if Scott hadn't taught me the business in the way that he did. So, he taught me a lot of good fundamentals that I use every single day. And so now
Yeah.
I own my own retail operation, and it's interesting when you're on the other side of it, where you're the owner now and it's your ad spend and your money. And I'm like, I could see why I was worth so much creating leads out of nothing now. Right.
Exactly. So you own a residential fence company as well.
Yep, my husband and
Yeah.
I do. Yep,
So
we are pretty small. We've got one sales rep. We'll do about 1.2 million this year. So, I mean, really our first year resurrecting it. We started it in COVID, which, as we know, everyone was making money in COVID hand over fist. We weren't even selling at that point. We were just giving bids and emailing quotes, and people were buying left and right. I was like, this won't last because I already know the sales industry, right?
yeah,
So this year we have a real selling process. We use Chuck, as you know, he's our sales trainer.
awesome.
So last year we decided we were going to go back all in on fence, and we got our CRM set up and our lenders and our accounting and like did everything the right way. The first year, Trevor, we just said, well, we know how to sell and market, so let's just do that. And my husband had his brother owned a fence company, so he knew how to install fence. So it was pretty much just, let's just go. I don't know how much money we made that first year. We did 900 grand in sales, but I don't even know how much money we made because I didn't know anything about business. I just knew I could get leads. That was the
Yeah, but
beginning.
there's something to be said about building a team of people that know how to do certain things,
That's
right?
true.
I mean,
Absolutely.
if I had a Megan Beattie on my team, I mean, I promise you, I'll handle everything else, and we would be unstoppable. So that's why you're here, right?
Yeah.
Selfish
Yeah.
reasons. So I have a couple questions. I've been writing down this whole time.
Sure.
You said one call close selling.
Mhm.
Explain that to me if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple different methodologies of selling in the home improvement industry, and it essentially boils down to a couple things. Either a one call close, which means we go to the house with an intention of making a sale, and we have a 10-step selling process that increases those chances greatly that we make the sale while we're there. Or there are companies that go in and sort of do a two call, and a two call means they go in, they take some measurements, they talk to the customer about what they want, and then they come back at another time to actually present the price. There's several different, methodologies behind that, but most of the companies that are two call eventually want to get to a one call. And then there's a couple that are just, really dead set against high pressure, which one call close doesn't mean high pressure. It's just gotten a bad rap because sales reps are lazy. And
Mhm.
a lot of times they go in and they don't learn the process properly. And
Sure.
therefore they present in a way that's pressury, which if you have to pressure them, you're doing it wrong. And one call close, they should be asking to buy from you at the end. And if they're not, you didn't do it right. So I learned that. I mean, that was interesting because I had been on the other end of lead gen, and then eventually learned, the other side of it of actually running the leads. So yeah.
This one might get you in trouble. Which
Okay.
job's harder, the salesperson in the field or the CSR doing the prep?
The salesperson, mainly because they have to be on for 3 hours straight or 2 hours straight, depending on how long they're in the house, right? I would say the salesperson's job is tougher. They have to be mentally tougher because they go to well, I don't know. I guess they both are tough because you get hung up on when it comes to call center canvassing. They slam the door in your face. They're hard in different areas, right? The deal with the sales team is that they've got one shot most of the time, and they've got to be on for 2 or 3 minutes or 2 or 3 hours. When it's lead generation, that interaction with the customer, good, bad, or indifferent, is over in 10 minutes or less. So you get a little break. Sales
Mhm.
reps got to go all in for a couple of hours. Very mentally taxing at the end
Yeah.
of 2 hours in a customer's home. So it's hard in different ways.
So we own a real estate company as well, and we sell
Oh,
real estate. And
ah,
so I always compare it to a listing appointment
hmm,
versus, showing property.
yeah,
Showing property with a new client is very simple. You get to know each other a little bit. You
hmm,
spend maybe an hour together,
yeah,
but when you go to someone's home and you sit down at their kitchen counter and you're discussing a listing appointment, you're going to be there a while.
hmm, yeah,
So it's a
absolutely,
lot harder, but the
yeah.
payout's better,
Oh
right? The
yeah.
payout, you want that listing.
Absolutely. I write scripts for the real estate business too, so
I
I
bet.
can I can understand. So yeah, I work with a brokerage in the Chicago area where I've just trained a caller to resurrect some of their old leads. And her second week doing it, probably her third week, she set like 17 appointments out of the old leads for their agency, and it was like, why haven't we been doing this all along, right?
Yeah,
So yeah,
because we're lazy.
right,
People don't wanna pick the phone up and do
yeah.
that. I know
Well,
I don't.
Well,
I'm
especially
like
when we leave it on the salesperson, the agent is the salesperson, right? Like if
right.
we can hire out the weakness there, which is the fielding of the leads and quite frankly, the prejudging of the lead, it's better because if somebody's whole job is to set the appointment, then they're going to go all in on that. If they're a salesperson and the customer starts saying, well, I don't think I'm going to do anything till next year, they start thinking, well, this isn't worth my time to go to. Well,
Yeah.
the lead generator has a different purpose and their job is to get us into qualified houses.
So let's talk about that because it's
Yeah.
different personality types.
Hmm.
I'm sure you're familiar with DISC.
Very much.
Yeah, I can tell. You're just one of those people. So obviously different people, different
Hmm.
styles. The CSR has to have a certain skill set, certain personality type, and then the salesperson in the field has to have a certain. Obviously, I'm really good in the field. Put me in front of a client at their house, I'm
Hmm.
going to get the job.
Hmm.
But put me on the phone with them as not. I'm trying to get off the phone the whole time. It's I can't help it.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, but
Uh-huh.
talk to us about kind of the personality types and what you look for in those specific jobs.
Oh boy, have I learned lessons in this area, Trevor. When it comes to salespeople or CSRs, right? The one thing we have to look at is if they are too what I would call soft, they won't objection handle and they won't take control. Both it's a problem on the phone and it's a problem with selling, of course, because you have to take control when you're in the house. So I could hire a high I personality on the disc test, an IS, which they're very likable in the interview. Like you're like, oh, I love this guy. He's great. Oh, he's so sweet. The customers are going to love him.
Mhm.
Right, and he can't close his way out of a wet paper bag because when the customer gets control, he can't get control back.
Right.
He will not be dominant enough in the house. When the customer, starts asking him, "What about financing?" 2 minutes in, he starts going into the financing options and letting the customer lead and it's a death sentence, right? Now, it's not that they can't get it. If they follow a 10-step selling system and they master it, they absolutely can get it. I hired an IS at All Weather Seal years ago for sales. And the problem was the learning curve is it took him like 6 to 9 months, right, to get up to speed. So it's really that if something's not in someone's natural area of strength, it's not that they can't do it. It's the time it's going to take them and the stress it's going to cause them internally to do the job at a high level. It just ends up not being worth it to them and usually to the company based on the payroll that they're paying, right? So
Yeah.
like the salesperson that's an IS, they can absolutely sell. It's just a matter of they're not going to sell at the level we want them to because they won't take control in a one call close. So we run into that a lot. So we're looking for someone with a D above the midline so that we know they're tough enough to be able to handle a customer pushing back, to be able to take control in the house, to be able to close and not be afraid to ask for money.
Mhm.
If you get a high I, the high I also hijacks your training class, right? My husband and I hired a high I in this last training class and I couldn't get him out of there quick enough. I mean, he will literally, like, if he's all I, they will just talk and talk and talk and talk, and you can't get them to stop. So
Right.
you're probably thinking, Megan, you must be a high I. No, I'm a DI. I'm a DI, but
Same,
it's
same.
I'm 92 D,
Yeah, me too.
90 I. So it's pretty,
Exactly the same.
yeah,
I'm an
really.
introvert. I'm an introvert, that's why
Yeah,
I'm comfortable behind the screen and not, on stage, although I can handle
yeah,
the stage because I had to learn that, right? But
yeah,
same thing.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, with CSR, they don't have to be as tough as the salesperson, but they still can't avoid conflict. The IS, my mother is a great example. My mother's a high S. She will avoid conflict like the plague. Like she'd rather gnaw her right arm off than get into some sort of confrontation. So the problem is that they let the customer give them an objection. They just go, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'll call you back in the spring," instead of actually trying to overcome it. So when we don't have someone with a D at least hovering around the midline or above the midline, they're just usually not strong enough to take control. And whether they're on the phone, whether they're canvassing, like they've got to be able to take control. But there's also something to be said for someone who follows a process or a system, right? And sometimes the DI is the maverick. Like they want to do it their way. Like they don't want
I'll
to be
write the
told.
system, but I'm not going to do
Right. I'll
it.
follow. Well, and the high C also will not follow a system if they don't buy in during training, right? So if you get
Right.
the high C because they're
That
such
makes
an
sense.
overthinker. Now, on the other hand, like they'll drive you nuts during training, like during sales training. Well, why do I say, well, Megan, can I say it like this? Well, what if I said it like this? Well, how would it happen if I did this? Well, how about I just say it this way? This is more comfortable. And it's like, here's the reality though. If they buy into you as a trainer, if you give them the right answers and the why behind it, they will execute the process better than any other sales rep on the team.
Yeah, I
But
believe that.
if they think they know better than you during training, they'll invent their own process and then they'll follow that because they overthink everything. So it's interesting. You learn all this through, hiring hundreds of people and really paying a lot of dumb tax through the years.
So I've discovered that I have way more experience training techs, obviously, than
Hmm.
the training and the sales side. But I've learned the same thing goes for techs. Like
Oh yeah.
we do a disc assessment for every new hire,
Hmm.
and I have one in particular who I thought for sure was just not going to work out.
Yep.
2,000 questions right out of the gate. And I'm
Hmm.
like, all right, he's a high C, so this probably won't work as a lead
Yeah.
tech, right?
Hmm.
But I stuck with it and I answered all of his questions and I walked him through and I explained like, okay, this is why we do that. This is why we correct. Yes, we do that as well. And you want to use this ratio for when you're watching
Hmm.
houses, and went through all of it with him patiently. And then it's just like something clicked where he just realized, okay. And he just started following the systems, and he's definitely our best lead tech.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, and
I didn't see that coming.
sales reps can be too. If they're a high C, like we trained a guy who sold 3.8 million his first year and he had never sold before. He was a DC, and all stretches of the imagination during training, I'm like, I don't know if this guy's going to make it into
They're the
week 3.
worst.
Right. Like I'm like, I want to choke him already. I might kill him before the end of training, actually. And then, but the C's sometimes will surprise you because yes, they're more of like the accounting personality type, but I got a kid in my call center that's a high C right now. And, he actually is pretty good at staying on the system. I caught him today going off the script, which I had to correct him on, but for months he's been on the script and he executes it well. He learns that he's a professional student. He learns everything, the whys behind it, and he follows through. So, but yeah, we disc test everybody, even our installers. But installers seem to be the biggest pain in my ass because they're actually the whiniest. They're actually whinier than salespeople, and I didn't know that.
Oh,
I thought
yeah,
salespeople were the
for
whiniest. I'm
sure.
wrong. I'm
For
totally wrong.
sure.
They also, I also found out I thought salespeople had the biggest egos, but they don't. Installers have way bigger egos than
Mhm.
salespeople. You learn something new every day, Trevor. I didn't realize that till my own fence company.
Yeah. Well, that's good insight though, right?
It is.
You have to understand the full
You
gamut
do.
of the business.
Hmm.
So I mean, I've got so many things I want to go over. I don't even know where to start. The call center thing. I think specifically I speak into the lower average ticket trades, right?
Hmm.
You're more of like the roofing. You're doing the big ticket stuff, and everybody wants to eventually get there, right? But have you
Hmm.
ever worked with like the lower ticket, like window cleaners, pressure washing?
Pest control. A1 Garage Doors is a client of mine. I work with them. But pest control is a smaller ticket and they sell door to door. Like I've got a deal with Mosquito Shield that I did last year for a year we spent working together. So yeah. And even with those, it's even bigger for them because they don't nurture the database. They don't.
For sure.
They have win backs. They have like all, especially when you're talking like service based companies. They have a bunch of clients that have fallen off, that their credit card stopped working, and they have a whole database and they don't call them. They don't text them. They don't email them. They're just like, oh, well, they'll tell us if they need it. No, they won't
Yeah.
unless you make it easy, right? So you've got to call and resurrect those. We saw a lot of fruit out of the pest control company when we sent like cadence emails and texts, but the text really had to sound like a human, not an AI robot, in order for that to be effective. So we send little funny jokes about we don't want to be what's bugging you, but bug.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
And so we sent all kinds of little funny text messages. It's like, I don't know if you got nabbed by a big mob of mosquitoes, but we haven't heard back from you. We figured maybe, and so we had all kinds of fun. We got some good responses there. Like people were like, oh, I got 3 deals this week I wouldn't have had I not sent out this text and email to the database. So, it's all about getting like what one of my mentors, Brian Gottlieb, calls scrappy, right? And that's really what my story was at All Weather. So we didn't have anything to work with. So I had to work with whatever we had. If I get the luxury of new leads in the funnel every day, why the hell would I ever work hard to go into the database and find them? And so it's always like, well, you have this whole database of people. Well, those people aren't interested. Well, how do you know if you haven't called them? How do you know if you don't? And sure, a certain amount of people won't, for sure. But that's the lowest hanging fruit you have. It's leads you've already paid for. You
Right.
literally pay nothing other than payroll to call them. So resurrecting those leads is such a powerful thing at any ticket size.
Yeah, so we definitely we're those people. It's a little bit embarrassing. We have well over 1,500 clients in our
Uh-huh.
database that have all used us, and I'd say 98% of them loved us,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
But our retention rate is still weak, or year to year, it's weak
Hmm.
because most people in pressure washing, in particular in window cleaning, they either wait once a year for your service or once every 2 years. And we just don't nurture that. Now it's amazing to me how many like 5, 6, 7 year clients we go back to, and
Hmm.
we mentioned gutter guard installation services or Christmas lights, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you did that." And I'm like, "Oh man, what are we
That's such a
doing?"
it's such a true thing, and, the hand's too close to the face. We think everybody knows what we do, and they don't.
Yeah,
And that's
no,
and we had the same thing at All Weather Seal because our name didn't directly say what we did. So, we'd call them. They'd be like, "Oh, you guys did roofing? We just bought a roof from such and such. We didn't know." And
yeah,
I'm
it's the
like,
worst, right?
"Right."
Oh,
And
you
you're
sell
like,
real estate?
right,
It's like,
and you get pissed off at them at first, and then you realize it's your fault because it's
yeah,
not their job to remember you. It's your job to make sure they don't forget you.
yeah,
And so often, we get. I remember I had a couple of years where that happened. I'm calling through the past customers, and they're like, "Call me back in the spring or after the first," and I do, and they're like, "Oh, we already did the project." I'm like, "What?" They're like,
yeah,
"Oh yeah, we some kid just knocked on our door. We decided to do it." I was like, "Wait a minute, I didn't overcome the objection, and he did." How did
exactly.
well that's never happening to me again. So then I became an objection handling master because I can't stand to lose. So when I saw that somebody else was beating me to the punch, I said, "Oh no, I got to stay in front of these people." So we call them a few times a year. We're sending out newsletters, we're sending out direct mail pieces, email blasts. I mean, we can't let them forget us. So many companies, have this idea that, well, we don't want to bother people, or they have like this
Mhm.
mentality around that. And I think, well, first of all, if you think your services are bothering people, you should probably sell something else, because if you don't feel like you're doing them a great service, like, get the hell out and go find something that is a great service for them, because you're never going to
Mhm.
sell it with the passion that you would on something that you believe in. I'm like, well, I believe in my stuff. Okay, well, I just don't want to bug people. I don't want to be bugged. And I said, well, the reality is, though, it's the old Zig Ziglar quote: for every sale you lose because you're too enthusiastic, you lose 10 because you're not enthusiastic enough. So
Mhm.
I mean, if I get one that tells me to kick rocks, oh well, the other 9 I signed up, I'm not too upset, right? So, but it's always this thought that they don't want to hear from us, and that's because human beings, we're prone to look at the negative. We immediately think they don't want to hear from us, versus, oh, well, maybe they would welcome a call to find out that we would do Christmas lights. Maybe that would help them out this year. Maybe their husband fell off a roof and broke his arm and can't get up there. How do we know? We don't know until we call.
Yeah, I always tell my guys, we don't pressure wash people's houses. We're not a pressure washing company. We're a solution company. We provide solutions for them. They don't want to have to think about it. They don't want to
Hmm.
deal with it. Most of our clients are wealthy. We live in a wealthy area.
Hmm.
They don't care what the cost is. They
No.
just want to know that you know what you're doing. You do what you say you're going to do, and they can count on you. And
Yeah,
that's
and convenience wins there, right? You show up on the day that they spotted that. This happened to us the other day. We had some friends over. We were showing them our house, and we were looking at it from an angle we never look at, right? And all of a sudden my husband goes, "Oh my gosh, we got to get this pressure washed." And in that moment, I'm like, if a pressure washing company hit me right now, the answer would be yes, no matter what. Like, if I got a random email that said, "Hey, need to freshen up the outside before Christmas?" Yes, I do. I mean, I would have
but
immediately.
that's because you're a high D.
Well, yes. Yeah, that's
Click.
true. That's true. The C would have been like, "Well, let me think about this." But
Yeah.
yeah, but totally, like, at that moment, I think we underestimate too the power of timing, right? Like,
Hmm.
if you just continue to call and text, the day will come where they need your stuff again. And we want them to think of us first, right? We don't want them to think, "Oh, who could pressure wash this?" We want them immediately to think of your company. We don't want them to go, "Oh, maybe I should go to Google. Where's my phone?" Like, then they're in your competitor's inbox. So
Yeah.
you want them to think, "Where's that damn pressure wash company keeps texting me? Well, I'm going to answer this time." Like, and they can go to the text thread and respond, right? But the moment will come where they need your stuff again, especially in a recurring service job like that, right? The moment hits them. And if we're the first thing they think of, we win.
Yeah. That's so powerful.
Hmm.
So let me ask you this. And this is the part where we talked about earlier. If you want to rip me apart, this is where you have the freedom to do it.
I can't
So,
wait. Nobody ever gives me free reign like that. Not even my husband.
all right. So you understand that we have 1,500 plus. It might be 2,000 by this at this point. That me not knowing that alone probably ticks you off. But we have a decent database,
Uh-huh.
and all I do is send out occasional emails. I got pretty comfortable because they have to call us at some point. So I get comfortable. We're growing. Things are good. We're not doing any outbound sales. Zero. I don't. When I call my wife a CSR, it's really she answers
Fielding
the
the inbound
phones.
leads. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and dispatches, and she does a lot more than that. But she's not a true CSR.
Sure.
So where would you go from here if you were if you were consulting me and you were going to say, okay, this is where you're screwing up. Let's
Mhm.
just call it $1 million company with
Mhm.
no sales guys and no outbound CSRs.
Yeah. The first thing I would do, yeah, I will rip him apart. That's
That's
probably
my
a wife
wife.
right there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she is a true CSR, by the way. Trevor, that is wrong. She is a true CSR. She's just not an outbound specialist, right? Where she's going in and resurrecting old leads out of the database. And to be fair, hunters and gatherers are two different personality types. You know, a gatherer is someone that provides a great customer experience when the customer calls us, and we need those,
Mhm.
right? The hunter really doesn't want to be bothered with all that. They just want to get on to the next thing. The hunter has to go into the database and actually overcome objections and look for stuff. So if I were you, the first thing I would do, the lowest hanging fruit is to send a text message blast, right? That's the lowest hanging fruit. And we'd have to have some sort of messaging that, hey, I'm not sure if you know this or not, but we offer blah, 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 right? Because a lot of times they're not aware of what we do. And we need to come up with some sort of clever messaging that says, hey, you know, and we can do that product specific. Like if we were looking at, hey, before the snow comes, I mean, that's probably not in your market, that's in mine, but before the bad weather hits, right? Like let's give your home a refresh so you're not sealing up all the mold and the mildew with the rain, right? Or whatever.
Mhm.
We needed to use some sort of, messaging that way. The other thing that I would do is I'd be focused on Christmas is right around the corner. Unless you want Ralph on the ladder again this year, give us a call. We could definitely help you with these Christmas lights. We need to come up with some messaging, whether it's product specific, whether it's past customer, hey, you're part of our family already because you've done work with us in the past. We're offering a special savings off of your next service. Hit us up if you want to use us for this, or this. You're going to get you're going to get a few unsubscribes, but you're also going to pick up the low hanging fruit, especially if you don't have any salespeople. I want to be in front of the people that have already kind of agreed to it, right? And
Mhm.
I don't have a sales team calendar to fill like I would in window siding or roofing. So on that, I can really go low hanging fruit with a text message blast. The next thing I would do is I'd probably give away like a free Christmas light installation. And I'd say, who wants to enter? I'd ask, it's like a sweepstakes, right? I'm going to give
Mhm.
away something or a free pressure wash in the spring. Who wants to enter to win? And then I would send text messages to those people that didn't win. And I would say, hey, but you won $50 off your service, second price. And then I would be able to resurrect those leads as well. So when people win something, they don't want to give it up, right? So we do that with home improvements, but you could be done easily with home services, and the cost is low for you, right? Like doing one free pressure wash to gather 10 or 20 leads would be worth it, right? And
Yeah, for
so,
sure.
yeah, yeah. So you want to be able to give something away, and look, you could call the database too, but if you don't have the manpower to call, the text message blast will do. You can do that in one shot, right? So yeah, I would definitely be doing something like that, and then following up continuously. But really, you have to look at what's your prime season, and you have to have a strategy for win back time and a strategy for peak season. And the peak season may be a little different.
Yeah, my gears are turning for sure. So, in a perfect world, perfect scenario, you would be running those kind of campaigns. You'd be running your email campaigns.
Mhm,
You would be running your sweepstakes leads and
mhm,
your special event leads, and then you would have your outbound CSR full time, just
mhm.
handling those.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a full-time job. Like even with one sales rep at my company, we're $1 million a year, and I've got a kid back here pretty much full time. He's working like 36 hours a week. If he runs out of stuff to call, because he calls through 2 or 3 times a day every single lead we have. But if he runs out of stuff to call, he'll do a little social media posting for me and things like that. But I try to keep them mostly in their area of calling, which is their area of strength, because it's very rare that we run out of things to call, because we could rehash the people that didn't buy from us. Like there's a lot of different opportunities in the database. And so he's calling the new leads. He's calling the leads that are 30 days old. He's calling the leads that are 90 days old. He's calling the leads that are 6 months old. And then he's calling the ones we've already pitched and haven't closed to see if we can close them. So, we're continuing. And then we also will have a campaign for past customers. We're working on creating that list right now where, they did half their fence. They didn't do the whole thing. They only did a
Oh yeah.
portion, or they did a privacy wall, or maybe they moved. It's been a couple years. So, we're going to nurture that as well. So, yeah, I mean, whether it's a lead that hasn't converted or a lead that's already bought something from you, you offer multiple services. I mean, you should be pushing the real estate. Like, as soon as you have somebody say, I'm buying or selling, you should be coming back around with, oh, really? Who you working with? That should be your
Well,
next question.
we do, but we have
Oh,
to be careful with
oh,
that in our small market.
oh, I see.
Yeah, because
Okay.
the listing agents, we're oftentimes the first phone call from the listing agent,
Oh, sure.
but
Yeah,
but we're also often the first phone call before they choose a listing agent.
sure. Yeah.
So you can
That's
see why
not bad. You can see
where
why.
the conflict could land
I
with
could
some of
see
our
how it
clients.
could be a blessing and a curse. Yes.
Yes, so we don't talk about that.
Well, I would just say that if a customer says, I don't want to do something like Christmas lights because we're moving, that's a real good in to say, oh, okay. But if it's in your database and you already own the lead, right? You
Yeah,
never know. If you have a variety of services, like offering a variety of products, just because they don't need this today doesn't mean they don't need that tomorrow. And the
yeah,
problem is we don't ask, right? We
yeah,
just assume they'll call us. And look, even if they have a great experience, they won't always. And it's
yeah.
not because they don't like you, it's because they just get busy with other shit and they don't think of us first because we're not branding and staying in front of them like we should.
Yeah, and it's a lot cheaper than if we were branding and staying in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yep.
I don't know, maybe not. But talk to me about your typical outbound CSR cost.
Yeah. Well, I mean, essentially, that person's going to cost us an hourly rate. That person's going to cost us, we got to pay over minimum wage. We can't pay minimum wage, but we have to be heavily incentivizing them. And so the cost really needs to be on demoed appointments or sales. I really, in the home improvement industry, I really recommend it's on demos, meaning, and for those of us that don't know what a demo is, it's when we go out and give a price to a homeowner. So that means I'm having an at bat. I have a qualified homeowner that is allowing us to come out and give them a price, right? And so I want to compensate the call center rep for a job well done. Their job is not to sell the job. That's the sales
Right.
rep's job, right? So they should be compensated on getting us in front of qualified homeowners or resurrecting old leads. And look, if I have to pay 100 or 200 or $500 for a brand new lead to come in, or I can pay them $50 to go get it out of the database, you can see that it's going to cost me a lot less to have somebody resurrect a lead than it is to pour into the top end funnel. The other thing is the resurrection of the lead. If I can get that lead, it's not going to be as competitive as the lead that just came in that went on 3 of my competitors' websites. So I have a chance of closing this one at a much higher rate than the one that says I want to get 5 quotes.
Mhm.
So there's a couple of things there. Also, if we're calling past customers, much higher chance of a sale because the trust is already built as long as they liked us, right? So there's a few things there. I mean, that person might cost 1% or 2, but man, well worth it versus pouring in more money to the top end funnel.
So would you have a preset, say $50
Demo. Mm-hmm.
per
Yep.
demo, and then
Yep.
you have a base pay plus that? So
Yep, and
performance
then
model.
yeah, and then of course we can incentivize them if they we could do a sale bonus as well. Like what I like to do is say that if they hit a certain volume of sales from their leads at the end of the month. So I'm not going to pay them 1% on every sale or something. You may not be able to afford that. However, if they're over a certain volume number and that's covered the rest of their pay in terms of the budget, then I can pay them. So I could say, well, if you do at least 150 grand in business, the home improvement industry, that's a good marketer, do over 100 grand in business easily. That person, well, if you're over 150, I can start to give you 0.5%. If you're over, so once they
Mhm.
get, and look, if you want to keep a good caller long term, they can make some really good and competitive money if they bring in a lot of sales, right? Because they're
Yeah.
getting the demo bonus, they're getting the hourly, and they're getting a volume bonus. But if you make $12 off their sales, I mean, it's not even covering their hourly rate. So that's why we got to be careful and make sure it also fits within budget.
Yeah, I'm convinced that my industry in particular, not so much the lighting. Lighting is a little more professional than pressure washing and window cleaning for sure. But I'm convinced that this is the thing that our industry is missing.
Oh yeah.
And our industry's young. We have
Mhm,
pressure washing houses, and pressure
mhm,
washers in general didn't exist 50 years ago.
mhm.
So
Yep.
it's a very young industry. We're still trying to adapt and learn. And I think that all business owners that say I'm just stuck, and then we have those numbers, right? 500,000 is one of the marks that our
Mhm,
industry gets stuck at. Then we get stuck at 1 million. Then it seems like 1.2, and then we have these different
mhm.
levels. Well, I would bet that the people that are stuck at 500,000, this is what they're not doing.
Oh, it's definitely one of the things they're not doing. They don't even realize they should have a marketing budget half the time because you know what happens. And look, when I go in these blue collar groups, I'm in all of them on Facebook, right? When they say, "What's your top lead source?" Every single one says word of mouth. And I said, then you don't charge enough. And they said, "Well, what do you mean by that?" I said, because the reality is that if you're still living off of word of mouth leads only, right? I start saying to myself, you should be charging more, creating infrastructure, creating marketing departments, all of these things. You're not doing any of that. You're a one man band if your word of mouth is your biggest thing, right? And I'm not saying repeat referrals shouldn't be part of it. I'm just saying those are the ones you're naturally going to get, and you don't really have to put any money or effort in. Well, nobody scales that way. Okay. When you look at the companies that have scaled, it's through marketing to some degree, whether it's lead gen or branding over time. There's some sort of scale happening. And that doesn't happen when you're just sitting around going, well, the word of mouth's the best. It's also not controllable. That's the problem. You can't create more word of mouth. Well, just do more jobs. Just do more good jobs. Well, in theory, that makes a lot of sense. That doesn't guarantee you a lead. If I go out and knock on a door, I can get a lead today. I can guarantee to have leads on for tomorrow, right? So that's the difference. And yeah, I don't think the industry service-based companies in general, right? I worked at a carpet cleaning company before I got to my first home improvement company. It's carpet cleaning and restoration, very much the same. Like they would
Right.
just pay us a flat amount per hour, right? And whether I upsold or not, I didn't make any more money. So what was the point? I mean, why would I even talk about Scotchgard? Why would I even talk about it? The only way I
Exactly.
made more money was taking the overnight dispatch calls for flood restoration. I made money those weekends, but that was about it. Other than that, it's just people. I mean, it goes back to the old movie Office Space. People are only going to work hard enough not to get fired, right? Like that's it.
I've got a meeting with the Bobs.
Yes, got a meeting with the Bobs. That's right. That's right.
That's not going
So
to
you've
work
been
for
missing
me.
work, Peter. I wouldn't say I've been missing it, but yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
No,
But
it's so good.
so
So
many good
good.
lessons in that movie, even
For
though it's
sure.
all comedy. So many good lessons, right? He's like, I'm only going to work hard enough not to get fired. I'm like, that's kind of everybody.
That's it. Well, so many questions again. It's like I know we're going to run out of time before I get this dialed in, but I guess the biggest question is we keep talking about the contacts or the leads
Hmm.
being generated from, unconventional methods. So you have your special events, you have
Hmm.
your sweepstakes leads, and then obviously you have your outbound calls that are coming on your current contacts or your current.
Hmm.
So what do you do if you just don't have any of that stuff? All you have is your base. Do you start there and then immediately start planning for the sweepstakes?
Yeah, the sweepstakes is definitely the lowest cost of entry with the quickest return. And so that's one of those things that I can give that away 6 months from now. And by the time is to give it away, I've made enough money to pay for whatever service I'm giving away. Right. So
I
if you're
could
like,
I could give away a light install for next year.
correct. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yep. You could say enter to win the next 3 years of light install, right? It could be a really, big thing considering, we have a small ticket. So, but then people will enter to win that and say, "Oh, I'd love to have my Christmas lights done. Oh, that'd be great." Like you could even throw in the Christmas lights. Like you could totally do all kinds of things with that. And people will enter to win. We're going to call them and say, "Okay, how big's your house?" We're going to ask them the normal qualifying question we would and say, "Well, it sounds like even if you didn't win it, you still are going to hang up Christmas lights, even if we didn't do it for free. Is that true?" Yeah. Okay. Well, with that being said, we'd love to come out and show you what that looks like. Just one less thing for you to do this holiday season. And if it works for you, great. If not, you're in the drawing. Good luck. Oh,
That's so good.
great.
Oh,
Okay. So we come out and they're like, "Oh yeah, oh, it's only a couple thousand bucks. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, John can't do it this year. He's out of town for work. He's this, he's that." Well, it's all about that feeling with Christmas lights. It's all about that feeling when they walk up to their house. It's all
mhm.
about that majestic, sparkling, beautiful, like it's totally, and I am that person. That's how I know. It's all about that feeling,
Me
right?
too.
If you can create that, they're gonna buy. And
Yeah,
so, and even if they don't, right? Like, okay, but it's one more way that we can talk to them, we can nurture them. Hey, maybe next year they will invest in it. You
yeah,
don't know, right?
yeah. Really good,
Yeah.
really good. And by the end of next week, I will have a fully ready to roll sweepstakes.
You're
And so
going
that
in.
oh, yeah, I'm an executor for
I
sure.
love it.
I'm going to do it.
Love it.
You can hold me to it. Shoot me a text next week and ask me
I
if it's done
will.
yet. So the pressure washing, for the longest time, people in our industry, myself included, we thought that this was the business. This was the scale, right? And
Mhm,
there's some scalability to it, but
mhm,
it is difficult with the average ticket being as low as it is.
mhm,
Lighting, gutter guards, these new services that we're offering,
mhm,
those are not low tickets. They're decent tickets.
mhm.
I mean, they're not roofing tickets, but our average ticket for Christmas lights is over 4 grand.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we could give away, the reason I bring it up is we could give away what, like a $5,000 install,
Absolutely.
something like that, which would
Yeah.
be for most houses
Yeah.
would be an incredible install.
Absolutely. And studies have shown people don't even care the dollar amount, they care how soon the drawing is. So you could give away 5 grand, you could give away 3,500, you could give away 7,500. They care about how soon the giveaway is over the dollar amount. But yeah, you could, this could be a 2-story, a 3-story if you live in a wealthy area, do it like this. And we've got the special Christmas lights that glisten in the snow, like whatever you want to say, but get them excited about it. But yeah, you could give that away. I mean, that would track all day long. People, and you could run very aggressive social media ads,
That's what I was
for
going to
this.
ask.
Yeah, you put it on social media, do it. Obviously, if you did shows and events, that's a hot spot where they can actually enter in person. But yeah, social media ads track for sweepstakes big time. That's what a lot of companies do. So, you could put out there, hey, you got a guy falling off a ladder, right? Don't let this be your husband. I mean, you'd get leads like that left and right. And it's the wives that want it done. The husband will swear he's going to do it. Don't let him tell you he's going to do it again this year, Joanne. He hasn't done it in the last 5, right? Like he's always, and if he does, you just hear him up there cussing on the ladder, and you and your kids have had it. And let's just take that off the to-do list.
So
right?
literally the last estimate I went on, we call them go quotes. The last go quote I went on,
Yeah.
the lady, it's the same story. They all say the same thing. It's young wife, and she wants her house done, and she doesn't know what her budget is yet, but her husband's definitely against it, right? It's like it's the same conversation at every house.
Yeah.
And then she actually tells me he fell off the roof last year. And I'm like, what are we talking about? There's
Hospital bill.
Sign here and we'll see you tomorrow. It's like there's nothing else to talk about.
Exactly. I told my client out in Utah, I hope they're watching right now. They're going to laugh at this. I told my client out in Utah, I go, you need to just search on TikTok, dads falling off roofs, hanging up Christmas lights. I said, you're going to get so much funny content to be able to maximize on social media from that. I mean, you hear dads cussing up a storm. Like, I mean, the untangling of the lights before you even get on the ladder is a headache, right? So, but it all boils down to the same thing, Trevor. It doesn't matter what the widget is. It's that we're solving a problem, and there's a certain level of emotional pain attached to all of these problems we're solving. Either they're the ugly house in the neighborhood and they need a pressure watch. She doesn't want her husband on the ladder, or he's got a list of things he'll get to in the next 5 years, right? And the Christmas lights are on there. Don't worry, honey. You don't need to bug me about it every 6 months. I'm going to do it eventually. Or with windows and siding, either their neighbor just got siding and they don't want to be the ugly house, or their windows are drafty, or with fence, they're trying to protect their pets or their kids, or they keep their neighbors' wandering eyes out. It's providing a solution to those problems. It's being a problem solver in those areas that make us successful, right? And when you understand that as a business owner, you understand the marketing differently, you understand the selling differently, you understand the messaging differently. It's no longer I'm trying to out here making a sale. I'm out here solving a problem that someone has emotional pain attached to. We have to get to the root of what that emotional pain is. And that's the good news about having a good CSR. I teach them how to do that on the phone. So they'll start going, oh, we're not going to do that till next year. By the time we get done with the conversation, they're like, yeah, I should probably look into it like yesterday, because we asked the right questions, right? That line of questioning is with anything, right? With pressure washing, what's the first area of your house you'd tackle? The upper dormers? Would it be the deck? Like, what would it be? And everybody's got something that they know could be better. So it's all about asking those open-ended questions.
Yeah, and it makes them immediately think about how bad it is.
Exactly. And you go, whoa, how long has it been like that? And they're like, oh, I don't even want to tell this guy I've left it like that for the past year. Right. And they're like, well, what if you already tried to remedy or cope with that? And then they either feel terrible because they've done nothing, or they're like, well, we called you. Oh, good. I'm glad. And I'm glad you did, because here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm going to look back 3, 4, 5 years from now and see this as the moment it all changed.
Oh, good.
I really do. I think, and we haven't even gotten into like the special events at Sam's Club. I think that lighting, trim lighting, permanent lighting, Christmas lighting, I think would crush it in a Costco. So I think I'd love to hear.
Lots of corporate red tape to get in there, though. They have
Really?
deals with certain they have deals with certain large window manufacturers. You know what you could do, though? You could get into an Ace Hardware real easy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you could get into a smaller,
right down the street. It's the closest store to all of the high-end gated communities.
Oh yeah, perfect. A good example. My previous company, All Weather Steel, they went all in on retail this year. They've got like 29 retail locations. They're inside of Meijer, Walmart, all kinds of different stores, and they're in front of stores you wouldn't even think of. They're in front of Ace Hardware. They're also in front of Roy's General Store. They just go in, they ask the owner, "Hey, can we stand outside with a tent and talk to people?" Sure, come on. And some are just will let you. I negotiated our way into a high-end grocery store. Tony Hoty came to town. He was helping me when I was at All Weather Seal. We went to a high-end grocery store here in Rockford called Rick's in Rockford. And I'm like, "Hey, I'd love to come in and give something away." We give out some $500 in Rick's gift cards, like to the homeowners. And he was like, "I just want something new and fun for my shoppers to do." Sure, didn't charge me a dime.
Wow.
And, it's crazy. I mean, they let the Girl Scouts do it all the time. The reality is
Yeah.
it's a human being thing, right? It's like, what do they want out of you? They might want you to hang their Christmas lights for free. They might want you to pressure wash their building once a year. Well worth it,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah, I love it. So who on the team stands at the tent?
Well, I would hire an event marketer. I would go to a local college and get someone that's majoring in marketing, sales, communication, or business and say, "This is your new job experience role."
I don't even know what to say right now. I just
That's
there's
gonna
so
be your
many
best
things
bet.
that I'm not doing.
Young, hungry people. I built all of my marketing departments, call center, retail, canvassing, special events. It's all young, hungry people. It's really the key. And it's because they want to learn a skill set, especially you find the ones that aren't going to college. They're very entrepreneurial where they didn't get great grades in school, right? But they're not dumb. They just didn't get good grades, right? But they don't really see a different path in life and they don't know how to really break into business ownership. They like to own a business, they don't really know what to do. Well, the first thing that you need to learn how to do is sell something. Like you've got to. So when we put them in that type of position, it's sort of like an entry level sales position and they learn a skill set they can go anywhere that they want in life. I've got kids that used to work for me at All Weather Seal. One of them, he's my insurance agent now. He owns an insurance agency. His name is Mitch. Mitch, I hope you're watching. But he was a great telemarketer for me at All Weather Seal. Now he's my insurance agent, right? I've had a couple other kids that worked for me there that went off to start their own home improvement companies, or a couple of them are doing 14, 15 million today. So you never know. But when when you pour into somebody young like that, when you give them the tools, like there's something about that comes full circle, not just in a monetary way,
Mhm.
right? Like it's helping better the community and especially with young people that maybe didn't see a lot of direction in life, right? And didn't really know what to do next. They're just kind of hanging out, working jobs here and there. Yeah, you're that guy. Me, I was that person too. And that's why I guess I have a heart for that person, right?
Yeah,
Like
no, for sure.
I got in a lot of trouble when I was a teenager. I was terrible, but I definitely found my way when I found a sales position. So yeah.
Thank God social media did not exist when we were younger.
Oh, I know. I say that every day. I'm like, man, I'm glad nobody caught me on a TikTok at 19.
Uh,
Holy shit.
so one of the things I've seen you say in the past that I thought was really cool is it's lead generation, not sales.
Mhm,
So I thought that was, and I may have butchered that a little bit, but you know
mhm,
what I mean by that. So
mhm.
talk about that and kind of, and the other thing I want to know about is how do you keep all this together? Is this like a go high level type organization, or you have a CRM that you recommend? What do you talk about all that?
Yeah, good question. Here's the reality. The people that we're talking about that are setting appointments, whether it's events, call center, canvassing, these people, their job, they are selling something, but they're not selling the product. And that's where they get confused usually. They're selling appointments. And the appointment is the solution to the problem that the customer has, right? And so they have to get really clear on the fact that their job is to sell the appointment. Once they start, like if a customer said, "Well, what kind of solution to use for power washing?" And you started talking to them in power wash talk about, you're going to talk
It's
so
so
far over
true.
their head. No, you're like, "Oh, that's a great question. What makes you ask?" Because I've got to figure out, like, is there some chemical that they've heard about on the news lately that's killing everyone that they don't want?
Bleach.
Like, yeah, exactly. They've read something, and usually it's an old wives' tale, but they've heard something
Yeah.
that they don't want, or they've heard a certain brand is great, and you go, "That brand's terrible," but they don't know that, right? So instead of just giving them an answer, which would be selling the product, right? We want to go, "Oh, well, that's a great question. What makes you ask? What are you looking for?" And find out, really get to the bottom of people don't need a drill, they need a hole. We've really got to get to what that hole is for and what that needs to be, right? We need a CRM. If we're going to do any sort of tracking in terms of what we're going to do with our customer base, with calling, texting, and emailing, we've got to have some sort of CRM. Spreadsheets, later on, you're going to wish you hadn't. We
I
use
can see that.
Builder Prime. Builder Prime is one of my favorites. They do a great job. There's a couple other big ones in the home improvement industry. Obviously Service Titan is a big one for home services. A1 uses them. A couple other larger companies. We used Jobber early on. It was horrible because they didn't track leads properly. Now they've made some
No.
advancements, but still
No,
not.
we still use Jobber, and
Yeah,
it's,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Still not great
it's
for this. No,
no,
no.
reporting and
Yeah, yeah.
client journey is
Horrible.
lacking.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they're good at routing and like stuff like that. Like that's their strength for sure on the back end. But the front end, terrible, right? So we need one that has some sort of ability to call leads in an organized fashion, right? Builder Prime has buckets. So I've got leads that just came in 0 to 3 days. Then they move into appointments not set. 3 to 7 days, then they move into 8 to 30 days. Right, these are leads that we're continuing to follow up on. But the younger they are, the hotter they are. So we have to keep going in on those leads right away when they're brand new, right, when they first come in. So we need some way to track that, because the other thing we have to track is our call center's performance, not just how many leads at the end of the day that they get, but how many calls does it take us to get that many leads, because that's how you scale. Once I have people actually going out doing sales appointments, I'm going to count on the call center or whoever lead generation people I have. I'm going to be counting on them to fill the calendar. So I need to make sure that I know exactly how many calls it takes me to get an appointment. I need to know how many appointments it takes to get a demo. I need to know how many demos I need to get a sale. I have to know those numbers, and a spreadsheet will never track that for me without, me spending hundreds of hours or having, hiring someone anyway. Might as well just get a CRM that does it for you. But a lot of those will track for service companies too, because they have the back end function of installation for home improvement. So the same type of benchmarks that they have work for a service-based company, which is, here's the install date, here's what we do after, here's the follow-up, here's how we ask for a review. Like it handles the customer journey all the way through.
Yeah, so we're familiar with those types of programs because we sell real estate. If you sell real estate, you better have some sort of workflow
Yeah, I work for
program.
Lofty in real estate. Lofty, I don't know if you've used that, but
Yeah,
that's
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, Follow Up Boss was one of the ones that I used.
I've heard of that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a go high level.
Yeah.
They're all the same, right? They
Mhm.
have sequences of buckets that they fall into, and
Yep.
really cool. Okay, so we start with the text blast, right?
Yep. It's right
Then we
there.
moved. I'm going straight to Ace Hardware.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna
go
reach
there
out
and
to them
say,
tomorrow.
what can I do to stand here and talk about Christmas lights? I just want to tell them, look, I'm not selling anything while I'm here specifically. I'm just going to talk to them about if they'd like to use this in the future. Then you go to the house and do the sale. Don't do any sale in the parking lot. You don't need to.
Actually, they sell Christmas lights. They might.
Tell them you'll work out a deal. If that's what they want you to do, buy them from them.
Yeah, I don't know if that would work. I'm gonna think this through though.
Okay.
They definitely don't. They don't sell gutter guards. We
Oh,
could
well,
definitely
there
do
you go.
that, and
Yep.
that's another high ticket.
Yep. And pressure washing. I mean, maybe they let you do something with that. But really, it's just about building a relationship and, going in there and seeing what they want, right? Like it's the same way that we get into shows and events we're not supposed to be in, right? Like they'll say no home improvement vendors. Well, Tundraland in Appleton, Wisconsin, that Brian Gottlieb grew from 0 to 150 million in 9 years. They weren't supposed to be in farmers markets either, but they went in there and found out, what do the people at the farmers markets want? Well, they need capital. They want donations to certain farmers market type of charities. Well, we've got the money. We can do it, right? That sometimes that's not always money related though. Sometimes they just want something for their customers. Sometimes we're like, hey, we're going to hand out candy canes to the kids, like whatever they want us to do, right? And so we got to figure out what they want. And so they might let us talk about Christmas lights, they might not, but there's a lot of opportunity to partner with them and see what they want. So, yeah.
So new hires. Number one, CSR. Would you hire the one CSR to do both inbound and outbound in the beginning, or would you immediately
Yes.
split it up? You would.
Oh, they do both in the beginning, and then eventually you'll split it into teams because you've got hunters and gatherers. And eventually you want like a rehash department to call behind old leads and previous quotes that you didn't convert and try to get that on. That's a little bit more of a salesy position. So that's a different metric eventually. But in the beginning when we're small, I've got a guy doing both right now.
Got it. So he's in between phone calls or time blocking maybe.
Yeah, he makes the rounds through the database where he'll call everything, and then he'll move on to older leads, and then he'll call all of those, then he moves on to older leads. Then once he's going to call through 2 to 3 times a day, which is why we keep our calendar full. He calls every single lead 2 to 3 times a day.
What, every lead 2 or 3 times a day?
Yes, sir. And he just calls through them. I mean, we've got a few hundred leads that haven't been converted. He calls through them every single day. Yep. He'll set some already got the project done. We take those out. Like, we've got, he'll filter them out, but eventually they answer. He'll send a text blast here and there. We've got some text message blasts going out, and yeah.
Wow. I had a question, but that just took it
to the next. Yeah. Took you to the next thing. That's how my brain works too, Trevor. It's just in 20 different directions. So
who's Autumn Clark? Is that him?
No, Autumn is our office manager here at our
facility.
Okay. Yeah. She started out fielding the leads, and I had her doing everything. And then I said, I need to get some of this off her plate because there's a lot of leads in there. And so we brought Trent in, and he does that now.
So the new CSR is going to set the appointment,
Yep.
set the quote
Mhm.
appointment or the consultation. If it's
Yep.
Christmas lights, it's usually a consultation.
Mhm.
They need design
Yep.
concepts. They
You've
need to
gotta
see it.
see. Yes, sir. Exactly. Yep. We also have Autumn actually calls and confirms all of our leads the day before too, make sure both spouses are gonna be there, make sure they have enough time for the quote.
Yeah,
So we have a
sure.
confirmation process on that as well. So she calls them all the day before, and that way if they cancel, we have time to get another lead in its place, so we don't have an empty calendar.
Okay, last question, and then I want to hear about what you actually do and
Sure.
how people can get a hold of you
Yeah.
and that whole thing. So the question is, your lead sources that you call, are they always somehow funneled in, or do you ever do cold calling to random people and businesses? Do you have a CSR
I
that just does that?
Good question. So I don't, only because sweepstakes leads are cheap and they are going to convert much higher. I could buy cold call lists, but they're going to convert at such a low rate versus spending $2 a name on sweepstakes. It's a no-brainer. The sweepstakes, I'm fishing in the right pond. I already know the people that entered need my stuff. So cold call, I'm just going to take a random shot in the dark. This, I actually have a pond full of people that already need my stuff, and then it's just my job to convert them, and I get these at just a little bit more expensive than this. So for the time on the phone and for the cost, I'd rather call sweepstakes. We are going to start a sweepstakes for our fence company. That's in the next month. That's in the works right now. So we are going to be doing that as
You
well.
should document that.
I
You
will.
should, yeah, that would be incredible to see.
Absolutely. We'll watch
So
it happen.
if you're watching this and you don't know why she has the name Lead Queen yet, I don't know what to tell you. You need to wake up because this is just solid gold. Absolutely. I don't even think I'm going to sleep tonight because my gears are
Thinking
getting
about all
turned.
these ideas, I know, just
Yeah.
floating through.
It feels like, I got to this point in business where it's like, all right, if I don't make a change and start getting proactive in outbound sales, then I'm going to be stuck, right? And
Mhm.
I know so many of my audience in particular, because of this industry that I am so close knit with, I know so many of them, this is going to resonate with them. So tell us about the Lead Queen and about Tony Hoty and how all that works and what you
Yeah.
do.
Absolutely. So I work on a consulting basis with all kinds of companies, mostly home improvement, but I also have a couple of home services clients. And what they do is they contact me. We set up a free 30-minute discovery call and we talk about their needs, whether that's we want more leads on the calendar. We want to know how to get a lead in the first place. We want to know how to set up a call center. We want to know how to knock on doors. We want to know how to work special events effectively and generate return on investment. So we set up a 30-minute call to discuss any of those areas. We also do, I send most of my people that want sales training over to Chuck because he does such a great job, but we do some light sales training here and there. And then we also will consult on like recruiting and how to nab these young people and get them excited about the job. So we do a 30-minute discovery call and then you tell me what your goals are. I'll, give you a proposal. I'll send over a proposal on what it will cost for us to work together. A lot of times, if it's something small, it might take 3 to 4 Zoom meetings. We do those in a month time and you get all the stuff I teach you, you go out and execute on it. Maybe you come back in 6 months and say, hey, we need help with this now. We got that going, right? So a lot of people I work on like a retainer type of basis like that, where then they can call and email me and stuff
Mhm.
during our Zoom agreement. Some I'm on a long-term agreement with where, we're going to work together for a year or more. I've got some group trainings that I do, which is really popular, where I'm going to teach people how to work shows and events in a 90-minute basic, crash course and working shows and events. And we do it live over Zoom or, virtual web conference. The next one I have coming up is December 4th. We're doing a rehash, which means resurrecting leads that said no to buying from us the first time and, trying to get them on for a second time. It's a huge missed opportunity that most companies don't do anything with. So I do like these 90-minute trainings. We call them a boot camp and we do it, probably every 5 to 6 weeks. Got a couple clients that have attended one of those and literally went from nothing to doing a few $1,000,000 a year in business. I've got a Chad in Georgia, I believe. He took our events boot camp and he was like, holy cow, I can't believe I went out and executed it. All worked just like you said. And I'm like, well, I told you. I mean, I know I've done it. I've literally worked the show myself, so I can tell you it works. But he had great results, right? And so he comes back every couple months and says, I need a little help with this. And right now he's trying to get into some retail environments, much like what I just told you about Ace Hardware. He's working on some of those partnerships. So I get to see those companies grow, right? And that's
Yeah.
really the rewarding part for me. So if anybody wants help with that, we do the 3 30-minute discovery call. We might find out you're not ready for me during that call, and that's okay. Like you'll come back in a couple of years when you are, and I'm fine with that. I give you a little free advice. You take off with some golden nuggets and come back when I can help you, right? So we do a lot of that, and I do a lot of
It sounds flexible.
yeah.
It sounds,
Well,
yeah.
we try to work with you. I have a passion for the smaller contractor that's trying to get off the ground because A, I'm there myself. B, I've worked with a lot of those and I've seen them grow to the sizes they are today. I've got a heart for that. I want to help people that they're going all in. I'm going to try to help you however I can. But it is how I feed my family. So I do charge for it. But,
Yep.
I try
So
to work.
TonyHoty.com,
Yes,
correct?
TonyHoty.com, and you can put in a request, and Megan's assistant or Megan will be in touch with you pretty quickly. You know, we're usually back within 24 hours. We'll get a hold of you and set up that 30-minute discovery call. So I'm also speaking at a big seminar with Qualified Remodeler next month in Las Vegas, Top 500 Live, one of the biggest ones in our industry. So I'm excited for that. Going to see a lot of my clients that I don't get to see. I've got 400 companies I've worked with, so I don't get to see them all very often. So it's nice. I'm going to get to see a good chunk of them later this month, actually. So I'm excited for that.
Any chance you'll be in Myrtle Beach for the Top Rep?
I'm actually on a cruise that week. I usually am at Top Rep. I've spoke at the last 4 or 5, but I am going to be on a cruise. But I'll probably be at the one in August, I'm assuming, if Chuck will have me back. I mean, that just really
Pretty
depends.
sure you will. Pretty sure you will.
Yeah.
So I'm just south of Myrtle Beach, which is why
Oh
I was
yeah,
asking.
that's right. That's right. Because I saw you in Wilmington. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Not
Well,
that
thank
far.
you so much.
Yes,
Again,
you're
I
welcome.
don't even know why you accepted this interview, but this has been incredible. It's probably because I name dropped. It was very intentional.
It's been a good call. No, I enjoy this stuff. It's great. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes.
See ya.
See ya.